Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. Like all businesses, the city of Los Angeles needs a lot of everything to operate. So when the T's need to be crossed and the I's need to be dotted, it's the General Services Department that makes sure the pens are there. I'm delighted to be joined by the General Manager of General Services, Tony Royster. So great to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I was absolutely taken aback of the scope of what General Services encompasses. I mean, the list is like from maintenance to salvage to publishing to custodial and on and on and on. It's almost like if anybody needs anything for any reason at any time, that's what General Services is there for. Is that an accurate assessment?
It's very accurate. And like I said, the motto for our department is we're the heart of the city. And you don't see us, but no, the city cannot operate without the Department of General Services. We have great city employees that work for our department, and we're here to support the 40 departments. And if you name it, we do it. Anything that you see out on the streets in a building that's related to the city of Los Angeles, somehow in some place, the Department of General Services has touched that product, that street, that trash truck, whatever. We're here to support our departments and make sure our departments have the supplies and services they need to provide services to the 4 million residents of the city of Los Angeles.
All right, so there's warehouses full of stuff. And say one of the city offices, you know, the mayor's office calls up and says, I need, he's calling your office. And so there's warehouses, there's trucks, I guess it's impossible to say this in a very succinct way, but what are some of the scopes? I kind of generalized, you know, obviously maintenance and fleets and everything like that, but what are the different areas under General
Different
Services?
areas, you got like 5 major categories. You have like our property management. We manage close to 4,000 properties throughout the city, probably close to about 50, 60 million square feet. We support LAPD, the fire department, all the city departments, Department of Transportation, Department of Recreation and Parks. We support them in everything, every supplies. For instance, you're talking about warehouses. We have over 70 warehouses where we distribute supplies throughout the city, from pens to fuel. For example, we purchase close to 14 million gallons of fuel a year. When it comes to fleet, we maintain 10,000 pieces of equipment, and a real special group of pieces of equipment we maintain close to 30 helicopters for LAPD, for the fire department, and also for DWP. When it comes to the fire department, the water dropping helicopters, we maintain those. And we're behind the scene, but people don't understand, when it comes to purchasing the vehicles, the different uniforms, or bulletproof vests, whatever, for the police, we're the individuals behind the scene purchasing that equipment and supplies to make sure they can do their jobs and protect the citizens of the city of Los Angeles.
You just made me think of about 14 things. First of all, you kind of joked when you sat down that you hadn't actually been to the studio before, but you signed the lease on it. So that was kind of fun. Yes. It was a little fun fact. But you just mentioned the helicopters. There's a brand new helicopter that is supposed to be absolutely the largest water dropping helicopter, and I know county, city, and even Orange County firefighters are getting together to train on this incredible helicopter. So General Services had something to do with that in there, perhaps?
Most likely the situation, we have water dropping helicopters, and we work along with the fire department. I think some of their helicopters, they supplement through leases and whatever, and we work with them to set those leases up to when they're needed, that they can bring them into Southern California, LA, to fight the different fires that we confront.
Right. All right. So fleet services, I mean, that, according to something I read from like 2018, that's like almost 30% of what you guys are doing. Yeah. So with COVID, how is that working? Because fleet services are the city vehicles that are going around. So has that had to adjust with the pandemic? is it still?
It's somewhat of adjusted. The important thing is training our employees to operate in this environment with the pandemic, making sure they're having the appropriate distance and whatever. But all our employees, especially in fleet, when it comes to equipment, they're showing up to work every day. We're making sure they're being trained with the appropriate protocols for COVID-19, and also we're providing the PPEs, the personal protective equipment they need to do their jobs. Because, like I was saying, we have over 10,000 pieces of equipment, and the individual departments cannot operate without that equipment. You can have the people, but if you don't have the equipment, the people can't do their jobs. So we work very collaborative with every department, making sure we're keeping a certain level of availability for each department so they can do their jobs. Like, for instance, the Department of Transportation, they have 500 to 600 of the traffic officer vehicles. We maintain those. There's a certain, I think about 80–85% of those have to be available at one time to make sure they have enough vehicles for the people can perform their work.
How in the world did you ramp up so quickly to be able to take care of all of those pieces of equipment? Because, you know, we know just in our own lives how we're dealing with sanitation and keeping things hopefully virus-free. That is quite an undertaking when you're responsible for all of this, for lack of a better word, stuff that has to stay safe for anybody who's using it, no matter who they are and what part of the day they're using it.
Like I said, we've trained our individuals and prepared for situations where we train them how to do the work safely. And that's something that you really don't do in the last minute, something you've done over months and months in training, prepare for situations of earthquakes and different mudslides, fires and whatever, and even the pandemic. Now, our people are prepared to move forward when that demand or request is coming through, working very closely with the personnel department, with the health services, with occupational safety, making sure that we're looking at our operations and making analysis that we're doing it in a very safe and sanitized way to protect our employees. Because in my opinion, the most important asset to the city and to the Department of General Services is our employees.
Because you also, are also responsible for custodial for
Correct.
a lot.
Yes.
So I would imagine that is also, along the same lines as what we were discussing about the fleet services. Custodial had to make a shift and pivot somewhat.
Definitely, because they are critical in making sure that the facilities are clean and sanitized where people can come to work, and they're extremely valuable and critical to police and fire, because they're our frontline employees, and to maintain those facilities so to make sure there's no situations where COVID is being spread and any cleanup or whatever. We have either our custodians or a special contractor to come in to make sure there's specialized cleaning. For example, even before this, we purchased this robot. It's like it can come in and sanitize a area in a facility. It takes about 15–20 minutes and cleans probably, disinfects about 99% of all of the different type of infections. And one of those infections are the COVID-19.
Really?
We started that a year before this.
What prompted that purchase at the beginning? Just you had heard about it and
Well,
it sounded like something very innovative?
It's very interesting. It's a product that's usually equipment is used in hospitals. And because of our police officers that are always out into the community working, whatever, we want to make sure that the facilities are clean and sanitized to protect them and also protect their families.
So now you should buy a whole bunch more robots.
They're in our budget. We have budget packages.
Absolutely. Because I also know that airlines have also,
Yes.
invested in that kind of thing. So, you were ahead of the curve.
Yes.
You actually knew that existed.
No, we're very fortunate that we had started early and whatever, and the pandemic really was never in the back of our mind. It's that, because of the nature and the different, some of the unsheltered issues that police are dealing with, and to make sure that their facilities are clean and sanitized when they come in. And this piece of equipment really plays a critical part in making sure the facilities are clean and safe to work in.
What are some of the other things that you've had to do in order to adjust through this whole thing? I mean, every department within the city, as well as every citizen in the city, has had to make massive adjustments. But when you're responsible for this enormous array of things. What have you had to do?
Some adjustments is because in the beginning it was very difficult to get hand sanitizer or disinfectant. We have a division we call standards. They have chemists and whatever. So we were able for a while, until we were able to get a contract, to manufacture our own hand sanitizers and disinfectant, because they were not available, and we wanted to make sure that our employees and city employees had the necessary chemicals or whatever to sanitize their areas. So they were able to develop that because they're chemists in a safe way, and they were all approved by Health and Safety and Occupational Safety before we put it out with labels and everything, temporarily until we can get supplies in. Having that flexibility to do that, that was a really wonderful thing about the Department of General Services. We do everything, and we have the ability to flex and to adjust to get things done.
How are we doing right now with emergency supplies? Because I know at the time of this taping, Ventura is having problems again getting PPEs and everything. So where are we with our supplies?
So we've established a contract with Honeywell to purchase 24 million N95 masks, and they're delivering close to 1 million masks every month, and the contract will expire, I think, March 2021, which hopefully by this time we will be out of the pandemic situation. At the same time, we still will have sufficient and enough of the N95 to support our essential workers, our police and firemen and city employees. At this point, we're doing pretty well. Like I said, we're maintaining a 60 to 90-day stockpile. And then when you come to Love LA, that was a program that was created by the mayor along with the city council that provides support for PPEs for hospitals and medical facilities throughout the region, not just in LA, throughout Southern California. Because if you remembered, they were struggling trying to find. So we're able to locate those and sell them back to the hospitals or the medical centers at city cost, not a profit, city cost, to make them the accessibility. At the same time, you have other people are donating different things to the city. So we have other organizations where working with Love LA to distribute those different donated items, face shields and different things like that to different organizations. Like for instance, the United Farm Workers of America, we were able to send thousands of face coverings up to them because they're working in different fields in Central California and didn't have the PPE, so we were able to provide them donated products that came from the state of California.
Beyond the face shields and the masks, what were some of the things that were donated, and was the response what you had hoped?
It was beyond what we hoped. Massive amount of hand sanitizers and different things like that. It was coming from California. Different organizations or companies are donated to the city to support. Like for instance, if you take where I think we provided services of equipment to probably over 140 hospitals and living assistance centers. Oh, wow. And it's something that the city really has done, and it's really very I want to thank the mayor and the council for their leadership on that, because the important thing is that our frontline special health care individuals have the appropriate PPEs to do their jobs when someone comes in. And along with the leadership of GSD and Port of LA, we're able to support hundreds of hospitals and medical centers throughout Southern California.
Yes, and it's such a pendulum. Every time we think we're a little bit out of the woods, sadly something happens. But hopefully in the future, you'll have this wonderful supply of things that you will be able to keep for a long time, because you won't need them as badly as we've needed them recently. So that would be a good thing. You mentioned earlier about all of the properties. I was stunned to learn how many properties the city of Los Angeles owns. It's like, I think the city owns something like 9,000 pieces of property. What are they? And I mean, obviously the city buildings seem familiar, and but there are lots and lots and lots of buildings that you have to sort of supervise and sell or lease or take care of. I didn't realize there were that many.
Yes, 9,000. If you look in it, of that 9,000, probably about 4,500 are managed by GSD. The other are being managed by DWP, the airport and also the harbor. But at the same time, a new
You still have half of them.
I know, but a lot of them are like hillsides that really are not are in a position where they can be developed or whatever, and someone either a hill slide or whatever, or people may vacate something and they put it over to the city. But we know we maintain it. And for the first time in the history of the city, we have a system that contains all the information, critical information on all those 9,000 properties. They have never existed in the history of the city. And on the last 3 or 4 years, we've implemented the asset management system, which contains all that information on all the properties that are managed by the council control departments, DWP, airport, and harbor. So you have one place where you can go and get information versus, 6, 7 years ago, if you ask me to list for some facilities, it'll take me a month to get it. And now I can get it in probably 2 minutes.
Well, just even someone who may not need access to some of the more detailed information. Just looking at the map, I was looking at the map. It was like, it's the sea of dots. I mean, you just look, this enormous sea of dots all over the city. It is rather impressive, and it was really interesting to understand that actually existed.
Like you said, the division does a wonderful job. A lot of people don't understand, like in acquisitions, we purchased the Figueroa Plaza. We've purchased the Broadway building, the Public Works facility, and Taylor Yard, which is a huge yard that's going to be developed in a large park for the community. And like, for instance, you take the what they call it, the room key process, where the state of California, they're having these hotels that we're leasing temporarily to house a lot of the vulnerable unshelters, and we've done 6 or 7 leases to house over 1,100 people, and it really makes you feel good because you're making some type of impact of what's going on in society. People don't see what you do, but you can see what you do, and it's making a difference where people are not on the streets. For example, if you look at the bridge homes, people don't know, probably out of the 20 or 30, we built half of them.
Really?
Yes, we built the first ones.
Okay, and why don't we know this, besides you telling me right now, which is a really great thing?
Well, the reason, because like I said, we're a support services.
Okay.
And the lead work on it is the designer was BOE, but we were the construction unit that built them. And that's why we support things. Now, people don't see what we do, but it's just that's an element of being a support department. They don't see what you do, but they know what you do when it doesn't happen.
Well, since you're responsible for all the posters and the brochures and all the marketing materials, I think you should start sending some stuff out.
Yes.
But is it a regular standard thing that the city of Los Angeles buys property in order to turn it around for community fund and advancement and all that?
Oh, yes. If, for instance, they may have property in a particular council district, they want to turn it into a park or build a recreation park center or something, and we're a very critical part of that in doing that purchasing of that property, or property that they want to sell to someone else to do that's a benefit to the community. So we work in selling property. So we sell and buy property. So we're probably one of the biggest, largest real estate companies there is in Southern California. People just don't know it.
Oh, well.
They know it now.
They know it now. They do. That's really great. The other thing that I thought was fun is how involved General Services is in moving LA forward in innovative and in green ways as well. The LED lights in all the buildings, I mean, that was a really cool process that you guys went through in order to, light up all the city buildings efficiently and add a little bit of flair there too.
Sure, because like I said, we've done over 66 projects in the last 4 years. We've saved about 26 million kilowatt hours in energy. And one of our special projects is when we implemented the lighting project at City Hall. And a lot of people, before, if you had to light City Hall up, you had to call in the vendor to do it. So a few years ago, we constructed it and implemented all of the new lighting, and it's computerized. Like, for instance, the memorial for Kobe Bryant. We lit the City Hall up. The same thing for the Lakers championship and the Dodgers championship. This is a way, because when you think of LA, when you think of a facility or building in LA, the first building you think of is City Hall.
Yeah.
Dragnet.
Exactly.
And that's it's a way that when people think about the city, that's the building they think about. And that's why we put that process there, because it's actually the center, it's the beacon of the city, where when you think of the city of LA, you think of City Hall.
Wonder what, I mean, obviously momentous events, charge it, but could you light it up for holidays and anything? How could someone get something lit in city? How could someone get City Hall lit?
Usually, if it's a special celebration or something, usually they go through council. And if you're in the council district, they'll support a motion to light City Hall up for awareness for breast cancer, or in different things like that. And they just give us information and tell us the different colors. We have a computer system that can put the colors together, and boom, it's there. And before, it was like a very difficult process. And now is just give you request the color you want, and we'll flip it on just like that.
That's a really fun thing. But then there's also some very practical things that you've done. I mean, installing charging stations for electric vehicles. How is that process going? And do you know how many we have yet?
Going very well. I said we've installed over 200 so far. We've got close to 95 at City Hall East on P2, P3, and P4, and we have another 300 that are in process that should be installed in the near future. At the same time, the mayor has put a program together where anything that we buy is 50% we buy is either electric or a hybrid type of vehicle. So we've purchased close to about 130 electric vehicles throughout the city, and we're looking to convert more like the DOT vehicles and different things. And I think we just purchased our first electric street sweeper.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Very quiet, however.
Yes.
You kind of have to have a little warning sign on there.
Yeah.
Along those lines, you have had this amazing career within the city of Los Angeles. I mean, you've been working, I don't want to date anything,
That's okay.
but it's over 3 decades.
Yes.
How have you seen the progress of Los Angeles, and what dramatic changes have you witnessed that you are proud of, or that you can see that we are a forward-moving area?
I think one thing that I think is important that the city has done is the city now is really focusing on customer service and providing good services to the residents of the city of Los Angeles, especially with the program that the mayor has implemented when it comes to tracking things on data, making sure we provide the citizens the services that they need because of the tax dollars that they pay. And where before everything was on paper, and now everything is, we're heavily dependent upon technology. Like, for example, in our asset management system, our technicians or mechanics just will go out and go back and forth to the yard and back. Now everything is on their cell phone. They can look at the manuals for repairing equipment out in the field. They can order their supplies on the phone. They can fill out their timesheets on the phone. Where before, especially in LA being over 450 square miles, you spend half of your time driving. Where now, because of technology, we are much more productive. Because of we've always had over the years in the city, financial challenges, but we're able to do more with less and be a very productive city. And like a couple of things like like I've been with the city almost 30 years, and a couple of projects that really are proud of. One is probably a lot of people have heard of the Hollyhock House. And a lot of people might know it is a World Heritage Site.
Oh, sure.
And it's in in the city of, in the country of USA, there's only 24. and I think it's only 3 in the state of California.
We should clarify it's a Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Yeah, it's a Frank Lloyd Wright house, right?
I may not know the mass name, but I do know Frank Lloyd.
Right. And GSD was responsible for the restoration of that particular house in order for it to be presented before the World Heritage Committee to be selected, and also I was part of that process. And I mean, this is international. You're looking at the Taj Mahal. You're looking at the Liberty in New York, or the Great Wall of China, or those great sites. And something you had a part of is a part of that group. It's only maybe 12 or 1,300 throughout the world. But no one, you would never fathom in your mind that you would have that that opportunity to be involved in a project.
To protect something like that.
Something like that that's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And I think in everything that's done in our department, all the credit goes to the employees. Because now we have great employees at the Department of General Services. And like I said before, they're the most important asset that we have. Because you can have the best piece of equipment, but if you don't have an employee to operate it, it's useless to you. And our focus is now to be very grateful and thankful to the city employees, and especially you really see the how important they are during these critical times.
And also along that, you were saying all of these technological advances that have simplified things and made things more coherent. Have you had to speed that up during COVID? Have you had?
Oh yes, because for instance, a lot of things that we would do face to face, it's now on Zoom, it's on different type of conference call, whatever.
Right, and those phone calls vary day to day, week to week,
Yes.
given everything that's been going on. And one of the really nice things I think that you've alluded to, but maybe haven't clarified, is that Los Angeles defies being defined because it has so many different variables. But I think that there's a cohesion that is beginning here in Los Angeles, that there is a little bit more of a sense of identity, a sense of place, and a sense of personality that I think all of these things that you're talking about add to.
Yes, because we come all together as one city and one community, because this is like as if there's no place in the world like the city of Los Angeles. And like different cultures or whatever, but in the end, we're all one, and we're all one going the same direction. And we're very complimentary and grateful for our political leaders, our mayor, our council for leading the round. Because if the city of LA is hurting, everybody's hurting. So, and it's the same thing as the city family. We're all one family. And my job is to make sure the other departments have the supplies and equipment to do their job. If they're successful, I'm successful. If they're not successful, I'm not successful. My job is to make them look good. I tell people my philosophy when it comes to operating, we're like the battery in a flashlight. You don't see us.
But boy, do you need you.
Well, we keep the light on.
We still need you. All right, so if somebody wants to learn more about general services, it's a fascinating realm. How can they find out?
Or they can go on lacity.org under GSD, and they can look up on our website, and it gives you detail on all our 14 divisions and what we do and how to do business with the city of LA if you want to purchase and buy any property wherever that we may have available. And we're here to serve the residents of the city of LA. And like I said, it's a great department and wonderful city employees that work for GSD.
Well, I'm glad I got the chance to talk to you and share some of your secrets, because now everybody knows. And that's a wrap on this LA Currents.